Welcome back, YouTube, to another Digital Gate Studios production, joined by my man Jeff.
Hey guys.
This is going to be the first in our series of, you can call them update or reboot decks. These are decks that we've premiered in the past that we haven't necessarily got new cards for, that we've kind of refined the deck list and found some new avenues to pursue. And this is going to be the final one. I can guarantee this is going to be the final one for Machinedramon for this format because I'm having so much fun and so much more success with it.
Yeah.
So we're going to dive into it.
And this is a blast for us to do. And this is a huge reason why we love for you guys to jump in the Discord and communicate with us, because you guys give us great ideas and you guys are great crash dummies for us to test these on. So
120%.
feel free to jump in, give us your thoughts, feedbacks, comments. Let us know what you think.
All right. So as we talked about in the last one, if you watched the last video, you should go check it out. We're going to jump into it. We have 4 Pagumons.
Yes.
So best egg in black, right? If
Yeah.
you're talking about it.
So this is great about the Machinedramon, watching this evolution from where we started. For those of you who have been following from the beginning, major props to you, but you saw us change from a blue base
to
the black base.
Yes. So moving into that, we're gonna go kind of quick through these videos because a lot of this stuff you have seen, and we'll kind of point out the changes. So going into our rookies, of course, the 4 of Hagurumons. That's never probably going to change in this deck.
Yeah.
I mean, we still don't have an alt art for it, but that's a whole nother thing we can talk about later. We're going to jump into the Chumons. Once again, running 3 of the Chumons. Don't think you need 4. With 3, it's that happy medium, I think, where you see it enough. Whereas it always, if you run 2 of anything, you kind of never see it. So going there. And then we're going to jump into our 3 level 4s, the Machinedramons.
Mechanories.
Still putting in a ton of work in this
They just
format.
got better with Deeper Gate.
Yeah.
They just got better with Crossheart. They got better with all of that stuff
Yeah.
to stop that early aggression.
Yeah, it's a good hard play for 4.
For 4.
And it gives you something if you need to digivolve your level 5s onto. It's nice because there are so many good level 5s in Machinedramon that do have a good when digivolving effect that lets you search out that level 5 or level 6 that you need. So very good there. So jumping into our level 5s. So that's all we play for rookies, eggs. So everything else from now is just good fodder for the machine, right? So now we're going to look at our 2 ofs because I think those are the most important 2 ofs.
I think so too.
Most important 5s are the 2 ofs, right? So we're going to go Andromon to get that also needed blocker. And it has the wind digivolving, so if you put this on top of the Machinedramon, it'll let you search out your level 6s. So very, very good. And then just to kind of pair with that, you get the generic blocker, the Megadramon.
Yes.
So 4 of your level 5s in the deck will give you that mostly needed blocker. Very, very important. The generic blocker is very, very good, but as most Machinedramon players know, like you have to have independent sources, so you kind of want to run the 2 and 2 to split it up so you don't have that pairing problem. So because there are a lot of instances where it is good, depending on what you're playing against, to tuck one of each of these because you know that you're going to have to trash one of the other on your next turn when they attack. So very good to have the diversity there. One thing I did go up on from my last video is I went to 2 of the reboots. Very, very important, I think. I saw this in some lists and I kind of questioned it for a while, but once I jumped into it, I realized that being able to attack the heavy mobile Digimon or being able to get that free swing and activate all the on deletions of your level 5 inheritables, being able to reboot and be a blocker on your next turn is very, very important.
Just really plays into the strength of the Machinedramon.
Very much so. So it gives you the freedom to swing, whereas before it makes you kind of question it. Going along with that mentality, we're still going to run 2 of the Metal Greymons that let you swing at anything. Very important card in this deck. Gets more important in the next set.
Yes.
When we get that Master Tyrannomon.
Oh god, that Metal Tyrannomon.
Or Metal Tyrannomon.
So
good.
Yes.
Let you. It kind of change. That'll change the way this deck plays completely.
Yes.
Especially once we get the Chaos Tyrannomon X antibody. So then the deck will transform into let's trash your opponent's security.
Yes.
But we're not there yet. We'll get there soon. But right now we want to kill their stuff, right? So that's it for our 2 ofs. We got 2, 2, 2, and 2. I did go down to 16 level 5s. To be able to fit in the little option that I added that makes this deck completely different.
16 is still a great number for your
Still
consistency.
Very consistent, I found, and I don't miss that 1 of. So we're getting into the one-ofs. If we're swinging at anything, rebooting, we want to be bigger, right? So we're going to go 2K. This can also digivolve on the Machinedramon because it can digivolve on black. So we're still staying consistent there. Very good card, 2K. What's better than 2K? We're going 3K. This cannot digivolve on that, but it's a good piece to tuck. It's very important to use either one of these cards with the following option that's coming up a little bit later, because these do trigger the option to make it activate all of its effects. So you definitely want to try and add one of these to your Machinedramon or your Chaosdramon when available. And then going into security attack stuff, we're doing the Megadramon. This one I still toy with going back and forth to a 2 of.
I don't blame you. It's got a great on play that really can disrupt your opponent's board.
The on play has come up for me so many times where you're able to delete 2 of your opponent's smaller bodies. And I mean, I think that that's kind of what the meta is shifted to a little bit as far as like D-Brigade, and we talked about it before with Bloomlord and stuff. It's like going wide with smaller bodies, between the Mechanorimons and then this Megadramon, especially with everyone playing counters to Death X and counters to memory gain and counters to reducing Digivolution costs. This will pop 2 on play. Sounds like a lot, but 7. But I mean, if they have a memory setter, you're only netting them 1 more memory to use this if you're at 3.
To delete 2 of their bodies and get rid of that memory denier that is stopping you from gaining that memory back when you hard play the Machinedramon.
Yes. And you have a level 5 on board that you can build your Chaosdramon on. Very, very good. Going with that, we have the generic Volcanomon.
I still
the generic
like
security attack. Yeah, it's very, very good. This is good, so it's strategic, right? So this deck plays a little bit more strategic than other decks in the fact that you have to anticipate the D-Digivolve. So when you're playing Machinedramon, you get to pick your order of your Digivolution cards. So this is always one that I put on top of the stack, underneath the Machinedramon, because we have like Dorbikmons and we have a lot of cards that just D-Digivolve 1.
Yeah, or even like the Death X or the Metallic Dramon, whatever. Absolutely. That just all of a sudden, it's like, okay, yes, you got rid of my big stack because what is Machinedramon's weakness, right? It can't be deleted. Yep. Can't be have DP reduced. Now, soon it won't be able to send it to deck or hand.
Soon.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
well, with the Chaosdramon, yeah. Absolutely. So this is a great card to have just underneath your Machinedramon. So if they D-Digivolve it, they're still stuck with a 9K base blocker that has inheritables under it. So very, very good card. And then we're going to move into Gigadramon. This came back into the list.
Yeah, you were away from that for a little bit.
I was, but it got more important just based on the fact that this deck, with the cards that I've chosen, the more black cards I put in here, the better this deck gets. So this has come up more than once as far as just having your Chaosdramon be just a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
Or we'll spoil it right now, but your Death X. So essentially, if you Digivolve the Death X on top of your machine or your Chaosdramon, it is nice to have your Death X bigger than their Death X on your opponent's turn.
Yeah.
And be a blocker with the inheritable Megadramon or the option that we're going to talk about. So this card got better with kind of this evolution of the deck. And now we're going to talk about what happens when you swing. So we're going to talk about the Metal Mamemon. Very important card. Very, very good. Once again, has a good one digivolving effect. Lets you search out that level 6 machine. So if you do actually want to use it on top of your Mechanorimon, you can. Other than that, it's great for just having that ability to kill smaller bodies. And there are level 4s that are 5 costs or less in this game. There are level 5s that are 5 costs or less.
Yeah, there's plenty of targets for that.
So a lot of targets for that to delete. And then we have the Megadramon. Went down to one of these. So this is kind of where I went. I took out went a little bit heavier on the reboot and took out the second one of these because we don't see as many tamers. Because we don't, just in our locals alone, we don't see a ton of Crossheart left. This was my anti-Crossheart kind of deck. So this is a good one to just go down to one of, but it is nice to be able to delete those 3-cost tamers. And Digimon. And then my last level 5 is I went down to one of these, which I do love this card.
It's a good card.
It is good, but being able to Digivolve on top of the more level 3s or level 4s that I play kind of negated the need to play this for 5.
Yeah.
So I went a little bit more utility, and this is a little bit more luxury, I guess, to gain the memory when I delete stuff. So just went that way. But just by going black and being able to Digivolve straight from the egg eventually, have that ability, it kind of negated the effect of being able to need to hard play something for 5. The next ones are pretty easy. We're going to run 4 of the boy. We're running 4 of the machine. So very good there. Not much to say about that. It's the core of the deck.
You have to run it as a 4 of. And if you don't see it, you just lose.
Not now.
You're right.
That was how it was.
Now, I take that back.
Now that was literally how the deck worked before EX2 or EX3. Now we have Machinedramon. So now we're able to either digivolve up through the Machinedramon into one of these guys, or hard play it, or hard play the Megadramon, or do whatever. But being able to tuck 3 on digivolve turns this into a much better card than the old one. And we talked about that in the last video. But being able to digivolve this lets you tuck 3, so you have 2 more sources of anti-removal, as it were. And this can't be Megadeth, it can't be Gigadeth. It's a good pairing. So we finally got a good partnership. I didn't change the ratios there, 4 and 3 still. Did change the ratios here. It's going to be an unpopular opinion, but you'll see when I get to the option why I did this. We went 3 Death X.
Ooh.
Went up from 2, I know. But we play to win, right? We're not playing around. We want this deck to be as efficient and as powerful as possible. And this isn't one of those meta decks that messes around, right? This is not one of the ones that you're going to see in that top 8 or top, hopefully one day, if I can get in some tournaments, I'd love to try and play this. But this is what makes this deck better. For now, if it gets restricted, we'll put it down to 1 and we'll find out some other ways to play this. But right now, I don't want to say this is the win con, because it's not. It's
not the win con, no.
This is a counter to how people play against Machinedramon, because any deck where people play wide, like security control and stuff like that, they tack this in because it's a counter to how people counter those decks. So playing wide against Machinedramon is a good counter. So this is a counter to the counter. So very, very good card. And I'll show you why it gets better in just a few minutes. We're going to go into Tamer. So I went down to 3 analog use.
Down to 3, yep.
I went down to 3 because of the Death X.
Makes sense.
Not because of my Death X, but because of my opponent's Death X.
Yep.
So often in these games, I end up with analogs in my hand. And if they're in your hand, you're just so tempted to use them because they're so cheap.
Absolutely, yeah.
You're like, oh, if I have an analog, I'm going to use it. So I basically did this to not tempt myself to keep using them, because there's so many times where I'll have 3 or 4 analog use out.
Yeah.
And it just makes their Death X so cheap, and it just gives them an easier way to win the game. So I went down to 3, and I still see it as much as I need to, but not too much. So it gave me another slot, and every slot in this deck is very, very important. So it's all about room. It gave me another slot, and so I ended up going 3 of the Kyus because the draw is so important. Very important card.
Still a good memory tamer. Yep. Really helps. You talk about this all the time, but what happens after you drop that Machinedramon?
Yeah, all the cards either come out of your hand. Well, hopefully, if you can set your trash up right, they come out of your trash. But a lot of times, they just come straight out of your hand, especially early game.
Yeah, so that just really helps fill those pieces in your hand to help benefit you later on.
Yep. So that's what I play instead of the Izzy. I know a lot of people will say, well, why don't you play the Izzy? I've tried the Izzy in past. I mean, it's been in past videos, but with all the different colors that are in this deck, you barely ever get that memory gain back. And it's nice to set up your deck, but this actually lets you get the cards out of your deck.
Yeah, because that's obviously being able to pick the order, but you're still not drawing that card you need, right?
So. And I mean, just talking about the last video too, you're going to talk about where's the Kazus. There's no Kazus in this deck, because this lets me draw cards and actually keep the cards.
Yep.
Kazu's nice, but at the same time, there's a lot of times where you play the machine, drains the cards in your hand, and then you have 1 or 2 cards in your hand. And then if you want to use the Kazu, you have to draw 1 and trash 1. And you don't always have a card that you want to trash in your hand. So it doesn't help. So this is nice. Going with a little bit more consistency. And we're going to play 2 of the Black Memory Boost. This card was non-existent in the deck until the Machinedramon came out, because it is also black.
Yeah.
So now you can search any of your level 6s, which is nice. You can also search out the Death X if you need the Death X. You can search out the Machinedramon or the Chumon or any of the core cards of the deck that you need. You can get with the Black Memory Boost. And on the ensuing turn, obviously utilize that memory to make a bigger play. So very, very important in this deck. And now we're going to get into my one-ofs. I've tried to get rid of these cards, and I just can't, because every time I try and get rid of them, I'm like, I wish I had them. And this deck actually draws quite a bit, surprisingly enough. with all the analogs and stuff. So I know the analogs can't draw this, but the Higurus and the Kyus and all that and all that good stuff. Very, very good cards. We got 1 Iron Fisted Onslaught, 1 Ultimate Flare. I've tried to be consistent and run 2 of one or 2 of the other, but I find that just the huge variety of decks that you play against nowadays, you're always kind of wishing you had one or the other. So it's nice to be able to just have both. If they hit security, they're gorgeous.
And it's not like you don't have removal in the deck. Like your entire level 5 core, and obviously the Machinedramon, the Chaosdramon are built to remove bodies.
Yeah.
So you don't need to stress about running more kill spells.
Yes. And then we'll get into the other one of in the deck. We're going to run 1 of Attack of the Heavy Mobile. So a lot of people I know would like to run more of this. I personally just like to run the 1 of because I don't think it's a win con for the deck. This is like a Lobo for game for me.
Yeah, that's like literally your last move if you have it.
You can use it. It is nice to get it when you need it, but you never get this card when you need it.
Because you're not running 4 of.
Yeah, and if you run 4, then it clogs up your hand because you never need more than 1 of these in your hand, right? So, and it does hit in security sometimes, which is nice sometimes, but it's not the best card in your security because at best you're probably going to trash. I don't know, you're only going to be able to kill like maybe a champion with it, maybe an ultimate depending on what you're trashing, So nothing, it's not going to win you 1,000 games doing that. It's literally just like I have 1 more play, so you could even run what's a blue hybrid? A Lobo. Yeah.
Lobo, Kuma.
You could Lobo.
Korikaku.
Korikaku, whatever you want to do. It's essentially going to have the same effect. I mean, it is nice to be able to do this and swing and activate the effects of the Machinedramon. There have been times where I did use that.
And it is another removal in security. If it does get hit there, you can trash a card to set up a Machinedramon later, delete a body, whatever you need to do. I think that's better than the hybrid, in my opinion.
We got 3 more cards left on the deck, and they're all options. And if you do watch the podcast, then you probably already know what they are.
If not,
we talked about it.
Start watching our podcast.
It was episode 12 or 13. It was my card of the week. It has totally changed the way I play this deck, and it totally changed how lethal this deck can be. And it is 3 Final Zubagun Punch.
Wow.
This card, an old card.
It is
set
old
4.
Card.
Yep. Very, very good card. So if you don't know what it does, it only costs 2, and we're running black, so you should always have the requirements for the color. Just gives any of your Digimon plus 3k. That's the first effect, right? So there's been times, and it adds it until the end of your opponent's next turn. So very, very good. Even if there's certain situations where I've had to use it on the Mechanorimon, where it makes him a 9k blocker that restands multiple times. That's kind of worst case scenario, but best case scenario, I mean, you're going to use it on your Machinedramon that has the plus 2k or the plus 3k. And the secondary effect is if it's over 16,000 when you use this effect, it gets security attack 1, plus 1, blocker, and reboot.
Yeah.
So very, 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 very powerful. But my favorite combo, I mean, if we're not talking about the core of the deck, which is the machines, is if it's later game and you're able to drop this awesome Death X-Mon. I mean, it just triggers it right off the bat.
It really feels like Final Zubagon Punch was so far ahead of its time for when it came out that it wasn't nearly appreciated. There were players who totally did try to take full advantage and were able to make cool things with it. But it's just getting even better now. It's aging like a fine wine.
Yes, with Death X, I mean, there's so many times where I've used it. You play the Death X for free or for cheap.
Yep.
And then on your next turn, you're able to Zubagon with it, and it becomes a security attack plus 1, 18k, reboot, and blocker on your opponent's next turn. Not a whole lot it's going to die to in security other than kill spells, but very, very strong. And then they have to deal with an 18k blocker on their next turn.
Very difficult to deal with.
Or you can go multiple if you have enough memory. I mean, if you Death X and then they have to hard play something for 4 and you want to go security attack plus 2.
Drop 2 Zubagon punches. Yep.
Just go real strong.
Devastating.
So, very, very good. That's the deck, guys. That's the update. That's the final version of this deck for this format. Like I said, we're going to change it when we get the Metal Tyranno in the next format and then the Chaos X Antibody in the next one. But those are changes to come for 2023. But this is going to be how I'm going to finish this deck out in 2022. So this is my Happy New Year's to Machinedramon. Thanks for joining us on this update. We got more update decks coming for you soon. Any final words?
Love the deck, man. Terrified.
All right. We'll catch you next time.